Hi, everyone. My name is Jim Ryan. I'm the president of UVA. I'm sorry that we can't be in person, and I'm sorry that I can't actually see you, but I'm nonetheless happy to be here, and I want to thank you for joining us. Since I became president of UVA in 2018, one of my top priorities has been to strengthen the relationship between UVA and the Charlottesville and Albemarle County communities. I'm encouraged by the participation and interest in tonight's event, and I want to thank you again for joining us. As we begin, I'd like to acknowledge one community member who's been working on affordable housing in Charlottesville for many years and has just been recognized with a national award for her work. Joy Johnson, who founded the Public Housing Association of Residents back in 1998 and is a member of our Affordable Housing Advisory Group, will receive a Lifetime Achievement Award from the National Low Income Housing Coalition. This award is given annually to someone who has shown strong commitment to the affordable housing effort over a long period of time. I've known Joy for a long time, and my wife Katie has worked with her in the past. All of us who know Joy know that this award is very well deserved. So I'm excited to hear from you today about UVA's Affordable Housing Initiative, which is one of the 5 issues we've identified for UVA community partnerships. The others are related to the local economy, early childhood education, public health, and the employment pipeline. There are connections across all of these issues, as you might imagine. And so we're bringing together people who are working on each of the topics so that they can collaborate. As you may remember, our original announcement of the Affordable Housing Initiative happened shortly before the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, which now seems like a lifetime ago. So a year later, I'd like to begin by restating our goal up front. And the goal is really simple. It's to support the development of 1,000 to 1,500 affordable housing units across Charlottesville and Albemarle County over the next 10 years. We'll do this by contributing land and partnering with a third-party developer. I will say that financial profit is not at all our driver, and that our goal has the support of the Board of Visitors and the entire leadership team of the university. Many people and organizations in our area, and I'm sure many of them are on the call, have been working on the affordable housing issue for a very long time. It comes up frequently as a community priority, and that's why we've made it one of our priority areas for partnering with the community. There is a complicated and not entirely happy history of development in Charlottesville, including UVA's role in it. And we're mindful of this as we begin our work. You all are the experts and you have opinions. This is the right thing to do, but it's also complicated. Your input will influence how we proceed, and it will influence the outcome of this project. We all recognize that we have much to learn from all of you in the community who have been working on this issue. And listening is an essential step as we begin. We are excited, I will say, to roll up our sleeves and get to work. All of us are committed to doing our best to be good neighbors, and we can only do that by working together as partners. So thanks for your interest and your engagement, and special thanks to everyone in the community who has dedicated both time and effort over many years to expand affordable housing opportunities in our area. With that, I'm going to turn it over to JJ Davis, Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer at UVA.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks to all of you all for being here today. As you know, we're incredibly grateful for your time, and I'm personally excited about beginning this work on an issue that matters so much to our community. As Jim said, I'm chairing the UVA's Affordable Housing Advisory Group, which is that, it's advisory to Jim Ryan, which includes community members and representatives from the city, county, and local organizations engaged in various aspects of affordable housing work, along with representatives of UVA, the UVA Foundation, and the University of Board of Visitors. Tonight, we are officially kicking off the community engagement effort for this initiative. Community engagement is an essential element of this work, and we are committed to both sharing information with you tonight and to listening. The goal for this initial phase of our work is to learn more about how you see the university contributing to an affordable housing solution in our community and to collect input that will help this stage. It is important for me to reiterate that this is just the beginning. And we're super excited, as I've said. No determinations about locations or residents have been made because we want to hear from you first. One of the things that we will be listening to in the coming months is what criteria matters most to the community when it comes to affordable housing. We will also be looking for ways to complement existing efforts rather than to duplicate them, so that collectively, city, county, UVA, community, we can make a difference. We have hired a consultant, Gina Merritt of Northern Real Estate Urban Ventures, to guide us through the initial stages of our affordable housing efforts. Gina brings both technical expertise and experience engaging local communities throughout the development process, which she will demonstrate shortly. She is also a proud UVA alum and just completed her doctorate. All of you being here tonight is just such a critical step as we begin. Thank you again to everyone who submitted questions through the registration form. We will devote a portion of time tonight to addressing questions that you have had. We also have questions that we can take through the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Please note, I don't think we'll be able to answer all of them tonight, but we will post questions and answers on the project website. We're also going to ask you some questions tonight using a live poll. As President Ryan mentioned, you are critical to making sure that this work is successful in meeting the collective need. As I said, we're here to share information, but also to learn from you. In addition to this public kickoff meeting tonight, Gina and her colleagues will be holding listening sessions with stakeholders from across all of our communities. Her team will create opportunities for you and your friends and colleagues to make your voices heard beyond this event, and Gina will detail that tonight. We'll also post updates and more information on how people can participate on the President's Council website, which is presidentscouncil.president.virginia.edu. And don't worry, we're going to drop that in the link in the chat for you. So no quiz at the end of this. So without further ado, I'm really honored and pleased to turn this presentation over to Gina Merritt. Gina?
Thank you, JJ. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here tonight. Thank you for participating and for all that you've contributed to Charlottesville to get to this point. So this is the agenda for this evening's meeting. You've already heard opening remarks from President Ryan and Executive Vice President JJ Davis. We will review the steps in the process that will result in putting forth a request for development proposals that will allow the university to fulfill the Affordable Housing Initiative. We will also review case studies, which are examples of successful affordable housing developments. We will read and answer frequently asked questions as proposed by you through the registration process, and we will perform a community poll to solicit additional information from you during this meeting. Finally, we will then have some closing remarks from our panelists. Now we will review the development framework process. My team's role in the university's Affordable Housing Initiative is to help UVA develop a framework for implementing this initiative. The university plans to solicit developers to help develop university property in a way that meets our collective goals. This framework will be established through a series of iterative processes. We are performing market research, which includes reviewing existing studies to validate and verify what the supply and demand is for housing of all types, including looking at how many people pay more than 30% or more than 50% of their income towards their housing expense. We will examine successful projects to glean approaches that might work for university property. And once the sites are selected for development, we will evaluate zoning, determine what housing and income types should be located on each site, and then draw diagrams and will show basically the potential scale of each building. We will run financial models to determine the best way to finance the development and identify possible resources to fund the project. We will then look at all of the data collected to determine the best approach to building the developments over time. We will do all of this work simultaneously, going back and forth between running the numbers and tweaking the unit counts and housing types to develop the best and most feasible plan. We will collect community and stakeholder input and feedback throughout all of our activities. With that in mind, our team will make a recommendation for moving forward along with a focused set of development principles based on these activities and collective community input. As Ms. Davis noted earlier, I have technical expertise and experience in community engagement in the affordable housing arena. I am actually a real estate developer of affordable housing, and all of the housing my firm develops starts with community engagement. Just because the housing is affordable doesn't mean the community doesn't have issues or concerns, right? I mean, some developers believe building affordable homes for people is enough, but we know better. I'm going to review 3 housing developments I have been involved in to give you an idea of what the community engagement process was like, as an example of how it could work on the sites that we will select through this process. So the Nanny Helen at 4800 is a housing development I managed that includes 1/3 replacement housing units for public housing residents, and 2/3 of the units are tax credit units. 1/3 of the public housing replacement units require residents to pay 30% of their income. The tax credit units also require people to pay 30% of their income, and their income must be between $54,000 for a 1-person household and $77,000 for a 4-person household in order to qualify. Here, our community engagement process included walking around the neighborhood, knocking on people's doors to show our initial project plans to gain their feedback. We also presented our plans to a variety of neighborhood groups. We collected feedback from all of these groups and made changes to our plans to reflect their input. Here is the interior of the building. As you can see, the interior looks like it belongs in a luxury apartment building. We fondly call this luxury affordable housing. This is a development in Atlanta. This development is designed on 12 acres of land owned by the Housing Authority. The Atlanta Housing Authority uses a best practices approach that includes a neighborhood full of mix of incomes. There are market rate units, public housing units, and tax credit units serving people with incomes from $0 to about $86,000. The development includes community uses, senior housing, mixed income family housing, and a grocery store. I flew to Atlanta, believe it or not, every month to meet with the community, show the design work, and get their input, and also gain their support. We met with civic organizations, resident associations, and the MBE-WBE community. In the end, we were able to obtain the approvals we needed to move forward with this development. This is Crawford Square Apartments. This is located in downtown Pittsburgh. This development was actually built nearly 30 years ago. So to preserve the affordability for an extended period, the city and the Housing Authority decided to support this redevelopment. This development was built as a mixed income community and served people from 0 income to 84,000 plus up until the time of redevelopment. This particular development required everyone to think creatively about how to achieve the common goal. And we did it by working extensively with residents and the Housing Authority. Without the residents' support, the redevelopment of this project would not happen. The property would have become a market rate development and would no longer serve people that made below $60,000. The redevelopment effort depended on the support of the people with the greatest amount of housing subsidy. This project was made possible because people in the community were open to new ways of leveraging federal funds and were willing to share their ideas and concerns with me. Ultimately, after many meetings and conversations with the community, we found a way to make the project's financing work, and we could not have accomplished this without the partnership with the residents. Developers should really value the input of residents who live in the community in which they are doing work. And the process we are embarking on with the university will ensure that. So President Ryan and Ms. Davis will now join me to address frequently asked questions that were submitted through the registration process.
Awesome. Thank you, Gina. That was great background, and I hope that gives our community members a sense of how we plan to approach this work and what's possible. We are truly committed to partnering with the community on this initiative. Many of our attendees submitted questions when they registered, and we wanted to take some time tonight to address the most frequently asked questions now. I get the honor of moderating tonight and putting all the tough questions to Gina and my boss. Just kidding. But we will attempt to address as many questions, but I guarantee it, we won't get to all of them tonight. But we do have a project website, and any of those questions we'll attempt to answer and put into the project website in the next couple of days. So without further ado, first question. A lot of organizations are already doing affordable housing work. Where will UVA fit in so that they are not competing for funding or duplicating efforts? Jim?
That's a great question. And in some respects, that's part of the community engagement process. I mean, the landscape is filled with people who are working on this issue already, and we want to figure out the best way that we can fit into this landscape so that we're not duplicating efforts or competing, but instead complementing the efforts that are already going on. So this is it's a challenge, obviously, for us to figure out exactly where we can make the biggest contribution. But some of that depends on what you all tell us and what we hear as we are moving forward.
Thanks, Jim. Next question. How does this project define affordable? Gina, would you take that one for us?
That's another great question. We don't have a specific answer yet. As President Ryan just mentioned, the university is working to figure out how it can participate in the affordable housing solution. Affordable means different things to different people. And over the next 2 months, I will be working with the UVA team to figure out how to complement the work of others. If everyone is trying to create a solution for one small segment of the people who are affected by a lack of affordable housing, there will be a lot of people who aren't helped. So, we're just getting started, but a large part of our early work will be doing research along with a lot of listening to figure out how UVA can contribute without duplicating the work of others.
Thanks, Gina. Next question. When will the units be built? Jim, can I turn that one to you?
Well, we want to get started as soon as possible. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, the goal is to complete 1,000 to 1,500 units over 10 years. Our thought is that we will start with one project. We are not that experienced in this. And so what we want to do is start with one project and take the lessons that we've learned there when we move on to the second or third projects. So it's not clear to me exactly how long it will take us to get to the first project, how long it will take that first project to begin. But we want to be as inclusive and thorough as possible as we plan this out, and then execute as quickly as we can after that, and learning lessons along the way for sure.
Thanks, Jim. Next question, will UVA build the units itself? I'll take this one. The university plans to work with a third-party developer or developers that will be selected based on an RFP, or a request for proposal. The request for proposal, which will be a public process, will include design principles that will be determined through our community engagement work. This will help to ensure that we maintain that connection between the community input and the final design. Next question, where will the units be built? Well, I'll try to take that one, and maybe Jim or Gina will happily supplement. As I mentioned earlier, and as Jim stated, the sites have not yet been selected. Our early work involves determining how UVA can contribute to an affordable housing solution in Charlottesville and Albemarle, and collecting input that will help shape the design principles. We're committed to engaging the community throughout this project, including once a site or more than one site has been determined. We're also in the process of examining all of our current land holdings to see what potentially is available. Anyone want to add? So I got that one okay? All right. Next question. Are you looking for opportunities to do mixed use, mixed income housing, low income housing? Gina, could you take that one, please?
Sure. I think, at this point, all options are on the table. We don't have any preconceived notions about the final design, and what we learn from listening to stakeholders and reviewing market research in the coming months will help us determine housing types, income levels, and other components of each development project.
Thanks, Gina. Next question. We've got a lot of great questions tonight. Are these units to be occupied by community members not associated with UVA, Student pressures can cause high rents throughout the city. Jim, would you like to tackle that one?
Sure. It's a great question and a great point. Our intention is to serve the community. So these will not be limited to people who are associated with UVA. We haven't yet decided whether UVA people will be excluded, but given the connection between the community and those who work at UVA, I would imagine it would be open either to UVA people or those who are not working at UVA. But again, that's initial thinking. The point about students is a good one. And one of our goals is to provide housing for all second years. Right now, we require all first years to be in our dorms. And we have some upper class housing, but we do not require second years. My hope is that we will get to a point where we can require first and second years to live on grounds, which I think would be good for them, but I also think it would help alleviate some pressure on the local housing market.
Great, thanks, Jim. Next question. Will UVA be offering capital in addition to land to support this affordable housing initiative? Jim?
Well, we'll be offering capital in terms of human capital, which we're already doing and will continue to do. But the main idea here is that we will offer land, which will reduce the overall cost of producing the housing, which will in turn will make it affordable. That's the basic idea behind this.
Thanks, Jim. Next question. Just wondering if you're aware of the Cherry Avenue Small Area Plan, which was recently accepted into the city's comprehensive plan. The folks at Fifeville worked for several years with the TJPDC to develop it. You might find it very informative and useful. Gina?
Thanks, JJ. We understand that there have been quite a few community engagement initiatives by various groups in recent years, and we want to learn from the existing work and gain additional insight that is not duplicative. My team has been collecting information about work throughout the city and the county, and we have this plan among the resources we need to study. Absolutely.
Thanks, Gina. Next question. Can you talk about the level of coordination with the city regarding the proposed land use map, and can you speak to community engagement? Gina, I think this one's for you.
Sure. During the next couple of months, I will be meeting with stakeholders from local organizations, neighborhoods, and the city and county officials. I have already had the opportunity to meet some of them, actually, and we'll be using the time to learn from them about existing work so that we can determine the most effective way for UVA to help address these needs. Both the city and the county are represented, sorry about that. Both the city and the county are represented on the advisory group for the project, along with local organizations involved in this work. So yes, we will have plenty of interaction with those folks.
Great, thanks, Gina. Next question. How will this project help those experiencing homelessness who have housing barriers? For example, credit, criminal, rental history, and income. Gina?
Okay. Sure. Organizations that work with homeless people are among the stakeholders actually that I plan to meet with in the coming months. We understand that people who need affordable housing are not all the same, and they face unique challenges based on their individual circumstances. So we will definitely connect with those stakeholders as well.
And Jim, I don't know if you also want to mention some of the work that your President's Community Group has been doing with the most recent exciting news.
I was going to add, I'm incredibly excited about the, is it the Red Roof Inn or Red Carpet Inn?
Red Carpet.
Red Carpet Inn, the acquisition of that to create a permanent overnight shelter for the homeless. That's something that we have contributed to. I have for a long time thought that Charlottesville really needed to take on the issue of there hasn't been until this point a designated overnight homeless shelter. And so I think this is an incredibly important step, which is why we've supported it.
Thanks, Jim, and super exciting news. So that's it for some of the questions. As I said, we do see some more trickling in, and we're going to take those and answer them and post them to our project website. But a special thanks to Jim and Gina for answering tough questions on the fly. I do hope community members found it useful. Now that we've shared some information with you all, what we would like to do is to turn to the community for input through some live polling questions. You will get to see the results in real time. So I'm going to turn this presentation back to Gina. So Gina can provide an overview and we can start the polling. So see you guys in a little while. Thanks.
Thank you, JJ. So we have developed an extensive and robust community engagement plan and will be asking members of the community for their input on various aspects of affordable housing that will help shape each site program and design parameters. We really want you to participate in the community engagement sessions where we can have a fuller and more detailed conversation. But to give you a flavor of the type of input we are seeking, we have prepared some basic questions and ask that you respond to the poll. We will be showing your responses in real time. Remember, these questions are an introduction to some of the issues that we will need to consider as we progress. In addition to asking questions directly of community members like all of you, we are reviewing work already done by others. I will read each question aloud and give you a little time to respond. I'll let you know when we are closing the poll, and then you will see the results on your screen in real time. Both the first and second poll include a question that requires you to choose your first and second choices. You will see the polling questions pop up on your screen, and we'll select the top choice for question 1 and your second choice for question 2. Okay, here we go. Question 1 and 2. What aspect of affordable housing is most important to you? So you're going to choose your top choice and then your second choice when you see the poll pop up. And so the questions are location in Charlottesville. I'm sorry, the answer is location in Charlottesville, Albemarle County, which is the neighborhood, scale of building, height and density, and then the levels of affordability, which means really the rents based on the income bracket of the residents living in the development. So which are the top 2 that are most important? I'll give you another 10 seconds. Okay, the poll is closing. Okay, so let's see. The results are that, let's see. Okay, so the for question 1, 61% of you said that was the most important, which was the levels of affordability. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And then the second one there is 30% of you picked location as the most important. And then 10% of you picked the scale of building. That's nice to know. So maybe people like density. And then for the second most important thing, let's see, 52% of people chose location in Charlottesville and Albemarle County. I guess the neighborhood is most important. 25% picked the levels of affordability and 23% picked scale of the building as their second most important choice. Thank you for participating. That is very good. Okay, next set of questions. Okay, what is the most desirable amenity for affordable housing development? So that would be green space, space for outdoor gathering, like barbecues, playground, community services, which could be medical clinics, social services, K-12, support, tutoring, homework help, study areas, community centers with space for social events, access to computers, and job training programs. So again, pick your top choice for number 1 and pick your second choice for the second question. Ten seconds, and we'll close the polls in 10 seconds. Okay, we're closing the polls. Okay, what do we have? We have, I'm trying to start with the highest first. Okay, so the top one for question 1 is community services. 42% picked community services. and 24% picked green space and space for outdoor gatherings. Yeah, especially now, we need that space to be able to connect. 15% said community center, 14% K-12 support, and 5% for job training programs. And for the second question, let's see, the top second choice was community center. Community services with 24%, then green space and outdoor space was 20%, and K-12 was 15%, and job training programs was 14%. Thank you so much. Okay, last poll coming up. Do you support the development of affordable housing on university property? Yes, no, or indifferent? Okay, 10 seconds. Okay, closing the poll. Yes, okay, 3 people no, and 7 people indifferent. So that's 89% yes, 3% no, and 8% indifferent. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to answer those questions. Thank you so kindly. Okay, so it's time for closing remarks.
Thank you, Gina. I was just trying to go back in and see if there were any other questions we could answer. I had one question back up at the top, which is, will jobs location also factor in site consideration? For example, the UVA Research Park is an important employment hub. That would be super if housing was placed in proximity. Gina, do you want to take that one?
Sure. Yes, I mean, it's important, I think, during the development and construction process to make sure that employment opportunities are available. I think that, the contractors that we will engage, or at least the developers will engage, will be required to meet some kind of hiring requirements. Usually with public financing, which is like a tax credit project or any funds that come, say, from the city or the state that go into affordable housing development. That means that the developer and general contractor are required to hire people from the local community. And I suspect that notion will be directly tied to the development principles of the development framework that we will create that developers have to adhere to. So yes, we definitely think there will be jobs available. And in the case of a development where we have a mix of uses, say we have some developments that want to include retail, then those jobs, permanent jobs, should also go to local folks.
Got it. All right, let's do a couple more while we've got people still participating. Next one was, I'm hoping transportation will factor into your site considerations so that folks can build support for our transit systems, reducing car trips. What are your thoughts? I guess, Jim, can you take that one?
Sure. I think building on what Gina was saying, and I don't know that much about real estate, but I do know the old saying about location, location, location. And that's true of affordable housing as it's true of anything else. And so as we've been looking at possible sites, we have been focusing on ones that are either walking distance to amenities or on a transportation line. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this is one of the most important considerations there is in thinking about where to put any housing, including affordable housing. But Gina, you're the expert, so tell me if I'm off base.
You're absolutely on base. In the sites that we're looking at in terms of the university's portfolio, that is one of the considerations. We're looking at the context for each of the sites that are under review. And part of the context is looking at the ability to get from the affordable housing development to the employment centers. So you're right, transportation is critical, and we are analyzing that as we look at all of the sites.
Great. Next question. Is there a wealth development part of your approach? Gina, how about you take that and then I'll supplement.
Okay, well, we are looking at that in terms of looking at opportunities to build homes for home ownership purposes. And so that's part of the work that we have to do in terms of creating the development framework process. We have to look at, what it takes to finance a home ownership project, what it takes for someone to purchase it and be able to stay in their homes and build wealth. And so that is something that's under consideration. Absolutely. Trying to figure out where in the whole portfolio of land that the university owns, is there an opportunity to offer home ownership to help build wealth? Absolutely.
Thanks. Just two more really quickly, and I'm sorry, things are coming in and I'm trying to real time this. It would be wonderful if these are mixed income and mixed use as well. As potentially for students. I hope that they would be available to everyone and provide sufficient space for a wide variety of people, including elderly, disabled, and developmentally disabled. Gina, can you talk a little bit about our approach and how you've been successful in the past?
Sure. When I certainly work on affordable housing developments, I do try to use a best practices approach in trying to house people of all income types, and certainly if the general market supports it, include a mix of uses. We think it's important to be able to live and have services, both retail as well as community services, either inside your development or close by. So all of those things we consider in terms of whether a development, whether it makes sense for a mix of uses to go into a particular development. But part of that is, again, doing this sort of iterative process I talked about earlier, which is looking at the market, looking at the context, looking at how to finance it. Can you finance the retail portion of an affordable housing development? They're financed two separate ways. But yes, from a best practices approach, you analyze all of that to try to figure out the highest and best use for a development site.
Somehow I muted, my apologies. A panelist commented, incredible news about hotel transitioning to an overnight shelter. I'm new to Charlottesville in the last year, and the nature of the homelessness is like anything I've ever lived. So I'm proud to be on staff at a university who's committed to engaging the community and seeking to find solutions. One more, I'm a donor to the university and I give money towards the general university fund, but I had no idea that these donor funds would be used to pursue a goal that is so far from a university's mission. I'll try to address that. These donor funds are not being used for this affordable housing project. What we are doing here is we're using excess surplus property and working with third-party developers to build a critical need that supports the university and the community. So thank you for your comment. I think that's all I've got in the chat now. So without further ado, I'll just make a couple quick closing comments. And again, thank everyone for their participation tonight. As you know, this is just one way for us to start getting input from the community members. And we know a lot of you have been working on the affordable housing issue for a long time, and that affects many people throughout our community. We are in this work together as partners, and I'm super excited about it. Can I turn it to you, Gina, to talk a little bit about next steps?
Sure. So we have several ways for you to work, for you to provide input as we work through the development framework process. I already mentioned that I will be meeting, myself and my team will be meeting with many stakeholders over the next few months. So we will launch a virtual comment wall where you will be able to post questions or comments online, and that will be anonymous if you'd like it to be. So watch the project website, which I have here up on the screen so that you can jot that down. We will announce the launch of that virtual comment wall. You'll be able to use it from your phone or your computer to make comments. And we really do want to hear from you. So we're providing multiple ways for you to connect with us and provide input. Until this avenue and some others are available, you can email questions or comments to this email address you see up on your screen, affordablehousing@virginia.edu. We will collect all of the questions and update the FAQs, or frequently asked questions, on the project website. That's the same place where we will post all of the project updates. We will record comments and take them into account as we build our framework for development. Your voices will absolutely influence how we proceed with this work. Now I will turn it over to President Ryan for final closing remarks.
Thanks, Gina, and thanks to you and to JJ, and thanks to all of you for being with us tonight. You know, I have said many times, and I believe this strongly, that UVA and our neighbors in Charlottesville and Albemarle County and the surrounding counties are linked together, and our fates are tied together. And one of the reasons for us to be a good neighbor is because of that. And I think helping to contribute to ameliorating the supply or increasing the supply of affordable housing is one part of that. But as we've said many times tonight, we are relatively new to this, and we want to do our best to make a contribution. And one way that we're going to be able to do that is by hearing from all of you, hearing about your views, hearing from experts, figuring out how we can fit into the broader landscape of affordable housing. This is complicated stuff, and we will learn as we go along, but we will be as transparent as we can, and we will check in all along the way. So thanks to all of you. Thanks to those who are serving on the advisory group, and I look forward to the work ahead. Thanks, everyone. And I think that's it. Am I right, JJ? All right. Have a great night, everyone, and be well.